Morning, everyone. We are the Group 10, and my name is General Pedjongola. Our topics for today is Ethics of IT Organizations. Introduction and Overview. This chapter will touch on the following ethical topics that are pertinent to organizations in the IT industry, as well as to organizations that make use of IT. The use of non-traditional workers, whistleblowing, green computing, code to address ethical issues. Key ethical issue for organization. The use of non-traditional workers, including temporary workers, contractors, consulting firm, HIV visa workers, and outsourced offshore workers give an organization more flexibility in meeting its staffing needs, often at a lower cost than if the organization used traditional workers. The use of non-traditional workers also raise ethical issue for organizations. The use of the use of non-traditional workers raise ethical issue for organization. Whistleblowing is an effort to attract public attention to a negligent, illegal, unethical, abusive, or dangerous act by a company or some other organization. Green computing is a term applied to a variety of effort directed toward the efficient design, manufacture, operation, and disposal of IT-related projects, including personal computers, laptops, servers, printers, and printer supplies. The electronic and information and communication technology or ICT industry recognize the needs for code to address ethical issues in the areas of worker safety and fairness, environmental responsibility, and business efficiency. The needs of the needs for non-traditional workers. According to Computing Research Association, the number of undergraduate degrees awarded in computer science, computing engineering, and information technology at doctoral granting computer science department in the United States and Canada decreased dramatically from the peak of around 21,000 per year in 2004 to less than 10,000 in 2009, 12 by 2011. However, the number of undergraduate degrees had rebounded to nearly 15,000. IT firm and organizations that use IT products and service are concerned about a shortfall in the number of US workers to fill these positions. As a result, they are turning to a non-traditional source to find IT workers with skill that meets their needs.
Contingent workers. The contingent work is a job situation in which an individual does not have an explicit or implicit contract for long-term employment. The contingent workforce includes independent contractor, temporary worker hired through employment agencies, on-call or day laborer, and on-site workers whose services are provided through contract firm. So, the term contingency workforce refers to the both independent contractor and temporary worker hired through employment agencies as well as day laborer and on-site worker whose services are delivered through contract corporation. Advantage of using contingent workers. When a firm employs a contingent worker, it does not usually have to provide benefits such as insurance, paid time off, and contribution to retirement plan. A company can easily adjust the number of contingent worker it uses to meet its business needs and can release contingent worker when they are longer needed. Advantage of using contingent worker benefits like insurance, paid time off, and retirement plan contributions contributions are typically not required when a company hires contingent labor. Disadvantage of using contingent worker. One downside to using contingent workers is that they may not feel a strong connection to the company for which they are working. This can result in a low commitment to the company and its project along with high turnover rate. The possibility exists that they won't have a strong sense of kinship with the organization they work for. This could lead to a lack of dedication to the project and the organization as well as high turnover rate. Deciding when to use contingent worker. When an organization decides to use the contingent worker for a project, it should recognize the trade-off it is making between completing a single project quickly and cheaply versus developing people within its own organization. If the project requires unique skills that are probably not necessary for future projects, there may be little reason to invest the additional time and cost required to develop those skills in full-time employees, or if a particular project requires only temporary help to temporary help that will not be needed for future project, the use of contingent worker is a good approach. In such as a situation, using the contingent worker avoid the need to hire new employees and then fire them when staffing will decrease. So, when choosing to hire independent contractor for a project company, should weigh the trade-off between investing internal staff development and finishing a particular job swiftly and affordably. H-1B workers. An H-1B is a temporary work visa granted by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services for people who work in specialty occupation jobs that require at least a 4 years bachelor degree in a specific field or equivalent experience. Employer hire H-1B worker to meet critical business needs or to obtain essential technical skill or knowledge that cannot be readily found in the United States. H-1B worker may also be used when there are temporary shortage of needed skills. Some people contend the employers exploit contingent worker, especially H-1B foreign worker, to obtain skilled labor at less than competitive salaries. Others believe that the use of H-1B worker is required to keep the United States competitive. So, companies use H-1B worker to fill temporary skill shortage or to acquire vital technical skill or information that are unavailable in the United States. H-1B workers are also employed to fulfill fulfill urgent business needs.
Outsourcing. Outsourcing is a long-term business arrangement in which the company contracts for services with an outside organization that has expertise in providing a specific function. Ang isang halimbawa ng outsourcing ay kapag isang kumpanya sa United States ay nagpapagawa ng kanilang customer service sa isang call center sa Pilipinas Sa pamamagitan ng outsourcing, ang kumpanya ay makakatipid sa gastos sa sweldo ng empleyado at makakatutok sila sa kanilang core function. Healthcare outsourcing is a form of outsourcing in which the services are provided by an organization whose employees are in a foreign country. Any work done at a relatively high cost in the United States may become a candidate for offshore outsourcing, not just IT work. However, IT professionals in particular can do much of their work anywhere in the company's premises or thousands of miles away in a foreign country. In addition, companies can reap large financial benefits by reducing labor costs through offshore outsourcing. As a result, and, and because of large supply of experienced IT professionals is readily available in certain foreign countries, offshore outsourcing, of course, frequently the IT firm.
Outsourcing and offshore outsourcing are used to meet staffing needs while potentially reducing cost and speeding up project schedule. Many of the same ethical issues that arise when considering whether high higher H-1B and contingent worker applies to outsourcing and offshore outsourcing. Strategies for successful offshore outsourcing. Successful projects require day-to-day interaction between software development and business teams. So it is essential for the hiring company to take a hands-on approach to project management. Companies cannot afford to outsource responsibility and accountability. To improve the chances that an offshore outsourcing project will succeed, a company must carefully evaluate whether an outsourcing firm can provide the following: employees with the required expertise in the technologies involved in the project, a project manager who speaks the employer company's native language, a pool of staff large enough to meet the needs of the project, a state-of-the-art telecommunication setup, high-quality on-site managers and supervisors. Whistleblowing. Like the subject of contingent worker, whistleblowing is a significant topic in any discussion of ethics in IT. Both issues raise ethical questions and have social and economic implications. How these issues are addressed can have a long-lasting impact not only on the people and employers involved, but also in the entire IT industry. Whistleblowing is an effort to attract public attention to negligent, illegal, and unethical, abusive, or dangerous act by a company or some other organization. In some cases, whistleblowers are employees who act as information on their company, revealing information to enrich themselves or to gain revenge for a perceived wrong. A whistleblower usually has personal knowledge of what is happening inside the offending organization because of his or her role as an employee of the organization. Sometimes the whistleblower is not an employee but a person with special knowledge gained from a position as auditor or business partner.
Protection of whistleblowers. Whistleblower protection laws allow employees to alert the proper authorities to employer action that are unethical, illegal, or unsafe, or that violate specific public policies. Unfortunately, no comprehensive federal law protects all whistleblowers from retaliators' acts. Instead, numerous laws protect a certain class of specific whistleblowing acts in various industries. Whistleblowing protects for private sector workers. Under state law, an employee could traditionally be terminated for any reason or no reason in the absence of an employment contract. However, many states have created laws that prevent workers from being fired because of an employee's participation in protect activities. Dealing with a whistleblowing situation. Each potential whistleblowing case involves different circumstances. issue, and personalities. Two people working together in the same company may have different value and concern that cause them to react in different ways to particular situation, and both reaction may be ethical. It is impossible to outline of definitive step-by-step procedure of how to behave in whistleblowing situation. This, sec- this section provide a general sequence of events and highlight key issues that a potential whistleblower should consider. Assess the seriousness of the situation. Before considering whistleblowing, a person should have specific knowledge that his or her company or a coworker is acting unethically and that the action represents a serious threat to the public interest. Begin documentation. An employee who identifies an illegal or unethical practices should begin to compile adequate documentation to establish wrongdoing. The documentation should record all events and facts as well as the employee's insight about the situation. Attempt to address the situation internally. An employee should next attempt to address the problem internally by providing a written summary to the appropriate managers. Ideally, the employee can expose the problem and deal with it from inside the organization. Consider escalating the situation within the company. The employee's initial attempt to deal with the situation internally may be unsuccessful. At this point, the employee may rationalize that he or she has done all that is required by raising the issue. Assess the implication of becoming a whistleblower. If whistleblowers feel they have made a strong attempt to resolve the problem internally without result, they must stop and fully assess whether they are prepared to go forward and blow the whistle on the company. Use experiments resource to develop an action plan. A whistleblower should consult with competent legal counsel who has experience in whistleblowing case. He or she will be determine which status and law apply, depending the agency, the employer, and the state involvement, and on nature of the case. Execute the action plan. A whistleblower who chooses to pursue a matter legally should do so based on the research and guidance of legal counsel. If the whistleblower wants to remain unknown, the safe course of action is leak information anonymously to press. Live with the consequences. Whistleblower must be on guard against retaliation such as being discredited by coworker, treated, or set up. For example, management may attempt to have whistleblower transferred, demoted, or fired for breaking some minor rule such as arriving late to work or leaving early.
So let's proceed to green computing. Many computer manufacturers today are talking about building a green PC, by which they usually mean that uses less electricity to run than the standard computer. Thus, its carbon footprint on the planet is smaller. However, to manufacture a truly green PC, a hardware company must also reduce the amount of hazardous materials and dramatically increase the amount of reusable and recyclable materials used in its manufacturing and packaging processes. The manufacturers must also help consumers dispose of their products in an environmentally safe manner at the end of their useful life. Electronics manufacturing employees and suppliers at all steps along the supply chain and manufacturing process are at risk of unhealthy exposure to these raw materials. Users of these products can also be exposed to these materials when using poorly designed or improperly manufactured devices. Care must also be taken when recycling or destroying these devices to avoid contaminating the environment. So, an example of green computing is a virtualization, where multiple virtual servers run on a single physical server, reducing energy consumption and hardware requirements. So, what do you mean by EPEAT, or Electronic Product Environmental Assessment Tool? So, this is a system that enables purchasers to evaluate, compare, and select electronic products based on 51 environmental criteria. So, the European Union passed the Restriction of Hazardous Substances Directive to restrict the use of many hazardous materials in computer manufacturing, require manufacturers to use at least 65% reusable or recyclable components, implement a plan to manage products at the end of their life cycle in an environmentally safe manner, and reduce or eliminate toxic materials in their packaging. So next is ICT Industry Code of Conduct. The Electronic Industry Citizenship Coalition, or EICC, was established to promote a common code of conduct for the electronic and ICT industry. Fourth, the EICC focuses on the areas of worker safety and fairness, environmental responsibility, and business efficiency. So, ICT organizations, electronics manufacturers, software firms, and manufacturing service providers may voluntarily join the coalition. The EICC has established a code of conduct that defines performance, compliance, auditing, and reporting guidelines across 5 areas of social responsibility. So, the first one is labor. Participants are committed to uphold the human rights of workers and to treat them with dignity and respect as understood by the international community. And the second one is health and safety. Participants recognize that in addition to minimizing the incidence of work-related injury and illness, a safe and healthy work environment enhances the quality of products and services, consistency of production, and worker retention of morale. The third one is environmental. Participants recognize that environmental responsibility is integral to producing world-class products. In manufacturing operations, adverse effects on the community, environment, and natural resources are to be minimized while safeguarding the health and safety of the public. So the fourth one is management system. Participants shall adopt or establish a management system whose scope is related to the content of this code. The management system shall be designed to ensure a compliance with applicable laws, regulation, and customer requirements related to the participants' operation and products, and conformance with this code, and identification and mitigation of operational risks related to this code. It should be facilitate continual improvement. And the last one is ethics. To meet social responsibilities and to achieve success in the marketplace, participants and their agents are to uphold the highest standards of ethics, including business integrity, no improper advantage, disclosure of information, intellectual property, fair business advertising and competition, protection of identity, responsible sourcing of minerals, and privacy. So, prior to the adoption of the EICC Code of Conduct, many electronic manufacturing companies developed their own codes of conduct and used them to audit their suppliers. Thus, suppliers could be subjected to multiple independent audits based on the different criteria. The adoption of a single global code of conduct by members of EICC enables those companies to provide leadership in the area of corporate social responsibility. It also exerts pressure on suppliers to meet a common set of social principles. So a number of electronics manufacturers have applied this code across their entire worldwide supply chain and also required their first-tier suppliers to acknowledge and implement the code.